Hi everybody, and today's story is called The Two Miracles by Andrea Moore from Wicklow. Jane was one in a long line of assistants at the local grocery shop in the 50s, as it was rumoured that nobody could get on with Mrs. Mulhern, the owner. The most interesting thing for me as an 8-year-old was the fact that Jane had been cured at Lourdes. In a town where even the arrival of the train was noteworthy, this was an event of huge significance. I listened enthralled as the neighbours gathered together in our street to discuss the whys and wherefores of the miraculous event. They said that when she was 3 years old, Jane had been struck down with an illness which had left her paralysed from the waist down. Wheelchair bound for the next 25 years, she had been chosen by the Lourdes Invalid Fund that year to travel to the French shrine. The day after she arrived home, she got out of her wheelchair and walked. The news that she was now working in Mulhern's set the neighbourhood into a spin. It was as if the Virgin Mary herself had come amongst us. Like everyone else, I was dying to see the miracle woman. I arrived home from school that Friday to find my mother waiting for me at the hall door. "Run down to the shops and get me a bottle of vinegar for the chips. Hurry now, the boys will be home any minute. There's a halfpenny for yourself." She handed me 4 pence halfpenny. That was the opportunity I'd been waiting for. With pounding heart, I pushed open the door of Mulhern's shop. I was nervous about meeting Jane, who for me was now on a par with the saints. The interior of the shop seemed dark after coming in out of the sunshine, but soon I could make out the contents on the shelves. Tea, sugar, and Fry's cocoa sat side by side with packets of Rinso, tins of Brasso, and cigarettes. As my eyes adjusted to the gloom, large glass jars containing bull's eyes, cloves, balls, and Cleves toffees came into focus, alongside display boxes of Sailor's Chew, fizz bags, gobstoppers, and licorice pipes. 2 blue bottles did a dance in the air before diving like kamikaze pilots onto the wooden tray of cream buns that Boland's van driver had delivered earlier that morning. While overhead, large clusters of their dead relatives hung from the ceiling on flypaper. The smell of paraffin oil vied with the aromas of fresh bread and carbolic soap. At first I couldn't see anyone behind the counter. Then suddenly, a voice sliced through the silence. "What you want?" I looked around to see where it came from. I gawped as Miracle Woman suddenly materialized from underneath the counter where she'd been cleaning shelves. She was a tall, well-built girl with shoulder-length, mousy brown hair. To call her pretty would have broadened the definition of the word. I stared at her as if she had come off Dan Dare's spaceship. When she returned my gaze, I felt as if I had been beatified on the spot. "What's the matter? Cat got your tongue?" I tried to speak, but the words were trapped inside my throat. "Well, are you going to stand there all day?" she asked. Suddenly, the words raced unchecked out of my mouth, running into each other like carriages on a train about to be derailed. "A small bottle of candy pure malt vinegar. That'll be 4 pence halfpenny." She placed the bottle on the counter. Standing on tiptoe, I rested my chin on the counter where I could see her better. "It's only 4 pence in Handley's," I said timidly, hoping to hold on to my precious halfpenny. "Why don't you go there then?" she snapped. She put the bottle back on the shelf. I didn't know what to do. If I went home without the vinegar, my mother would kill me, and if I ran down to Hanley's now, the nun would kill me for being late back to school. I stood at the counter, too afraid to move. "Well, do you want it or don't you?" I nodded my head, not daring to look at her in the eye, and handed over the money. Miracle Woman was proving to be a huge disappointment. Just as I reached the door, she called me back. "Hey, young one, come here a minute." Nervously, I returned to the counter. There in front of me sat 6 honey bee toffees in their colourful wrappers. They're for you, but don't tell anyone, she said, smiling at me for the first time since I entered the shop. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was the first time in the history of Mulherm's shop that anyone had got anything for nothing. That was a miracle in itself. Good night, everybody, and stay safe.